welcome to the Cuatro show. This is going out on Monday night at 8 o'clock. I shall also be doing a little concert on Wednesday at 8 and on Friday at 8. That's going to be probably my scheduled performance spots for the week. As ever, there's a little PayPal link if you're feeling generous or if you've enjoyed it. Again, I have to thank people for their generosity. I've been actually quite touched. I had to ask one person if they'd put the decimal point in the wrong place, and they had. No, they hadn't, which is lovely. This is such a sweet little instrument. We feature it on lots of songs. Phil plays it obviously on Santiago. I now play it on the moody version of Country Life. And it has some particular qualities, but a bit of background first of all. Cheers, by the way. I know it's bad taste, but we had them in the fridge. In the early 90s, a wonderful guy called Roger Watson, who was part of the Derbyshire folk mafia. I first met Roger when he was comparing the beach store at Sidmouth Folk Festival in a very no-nonsense way. And I think he played in Muckram Wakes. He did play in Muckram Wakes as well. But Roger, in the early 90s, was the director of an organisation called Traditional Arts Projects, or TAPS, in Bracknell at Southfield Park. And he put me and Phil and a wonderful musician called Dave Townsend, English traditional musician, together with 3 Chilean exiles who had a band called Keyman 2. And this was Mauricio Venegas, Vladimir Vega and Sergio Avila. And he said, I want you guys just to get together, bring your instruments, and to see if you can find common ground. And if you can, we can probably find some funding to do an album and a tour. And we met these guys, and of course at first it was slightly awkward, but then when we started playing, the common language of music really sort of lit up the room. And they spoke reasonable English, some of them, Mauricio in particular, and Vladdy spoke a bit better than Sergio, but we got on. We got on like a house on fire. They were the same age as us, but their journey had been involved imprisonment and exile and very, very bad treatment at the hands of the Pinochet government. They were activists, they were also musicians, and that particular journey got them into such trouble and led to their exile. But at that time, the scene was awash with bands, South American bands. There was also Rumiata, there was so many other Cajun bands, the Flat Valaces, the Barely Works, La Cucina I particularly liked, and the scene is very, very different now. But Roger had some bands to choose from, but I think he knew Mauricio quite well. They'd collaborated before. So we got together and they brought the panpipes and the charangos and the llama's claws percussion and a big bass drum and various other things. But this was the instrument that Phil and I immediately fell in love with. The Cuatro. I believe it's the national instrument of Venezuela. I think Puerto Rico. And the way that the guys would play it is a very percussive, rhythmic way, sort of. So you can imagine playing a jig. It sort of gave rhythm to some traditional English and British tunes. So the collaboration worked. They were all singers, and so we harmonised very well. And we toured. We made an album called, the band became known as Alianza. And we made, which I think is quite a classic album, a collaborative album. It led to lots of songs such as Man of War and Santiago, of course. And it led to an enduring love affair with this instrument. So we borrowed, I think, Mauricio's Cuatro, and we took it to the wonderful David Oddie. Oh, he bloody brought me there, and bloody bastard, play that damn thing. Oh, I suppose I better make one. And he fashioned one of these instruments, and his son Nick is still making Cuatros to this day. Now, it has similar properties to a ukulele, in the sense it has a re-entrant string. But the Cuatro's re-entrant string is this bottom one, the lower one. Whereas a ukulele will go bam, 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 bam. It starts off with a high string and then drops. This starts with a down and then it drops. So rather than high, low, low, up, this goes low, 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 and then down again. So it has a similar relationship amongst the strings. You tune them like you would the top 4 strings of a guitar. So if you imagine that this 4th string is the 4th string of a guitar, on the 5th fret it's the same. Then if you imagine that's the 3rd string of a guitar, on the 4th fret it's the same. Then if you imagine that's the 2nd string of a guitar, on the 5th fret it's the same note, but it's an octave below. So a classic ukulele tuning would be, I think, C, G, E, A. But this tuning is A, D, F sharp, B. That's A, D, F sharp, B. But the same chord shapes apply to both. In other words, if I was to play what is a D shape, that's a D shape on the top string of a guitar, but it's not a D chord, it's a D, E, F, G, A. You have to think 4 letters ahead. If I was to play a G, that's a G, A, B, C, D. That's a D. So you have to sort of rethink the names of chords, but the shapes are the same. But that re-entrant string gives that lovely plaintive quality. This is just an E minor. It's an A minor shape, it's an E minor chord. Isn't that sweet? And that's just a piece of cross picking. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. I love the sound of it. And the other thing that I learnt to do was to play it in a rhythmic way, but not like the guys would play. They would go, they would play by the velocity, and they would build up their nails. Vladdy used to build up his nails with super glue and tissue paper. And when he used to play that sustained, he would do it like that, and bits of nail would be flying off. So I learnt to do that by just doing this shape, finger down, thumb down, finger up. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Finger down, finger down, thumb down, finger up. Can you see? Down, down, thumb up, down, thumb up, down, thumb up. And then you can throw it in as like a triplet. Or you can sustain it. Down, thumb up, down, thumb up. So as I say, they would do the same thing, but I do it like that. Now the other thing I found on the Cuatro, much to I got a pretty girl down the road. Hi Lenny. You could make it sound like a sort of banjo. Can you imagine the look of pain on a Chilean exile's face when Mauricio came into the room and I was playing Yankee music? Yeah, man, for me, don't play Yankee music on my Cuatro, please, don't do it. So I promised I wouldn't. So all I'm doing here is, if you imagine that's an E minor shape, I'm hammering on and pulling off. It's a very sort of hammer on. Can you see? Hammer down, up, down. Hammer down, up, down. And as you speed it, there's the preacher for you. And even banjo effect is the pull-offs that are happening on. So all I'm playing here is 1-3 and 2-3 and hammering on 4-3. I've rambled in England, I've rambled in Spain. Oh, the cuckoo. There's that lovely sort of effect, doesn't it? But it's not, it's not a banjo. But it has that sort of, you can play along to those guys and it has a sort of authenticity. So that's the sort of techniques I do on the Cuatro. And it's that string out of sequence. That I think gives it that lovely effect, like the little riff on Country Life. Thumb 1, 2, thumb 1, 2, 3. Thumb 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, thumb 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So just try it out. Now, if you want to modify a ukulele to do this sort of thing, this first string here is a third string, classical third string. The second string is a first, that's a second, the third string is a second, and the fourth string is another third. So it goes 3, 1, 2, 3. And that tuning again is A, D, S sharp, B. Good luck, everyone. Now I'm going to stop. Have another sip of, I'm not going to name the lager. And I'll play you some songs when I come back. So my first Cuatro song is called Tall Ship Story. I don't remember when I first saw this film. It was an obscure Orson Welles film about a merchant in some East India port, Shanghai or maybe in Indonesia. I'm not sure the location, but he was a dissolute and very sort of like corrupt libertine, an old merchant who had a young, beautiful wife. And he was determined to make like a folk tale, like a, what do you call them, an urban myth, a maritime myth, true for at least one sailor. And the story is that the merchant pays a young man to have the first wedded night with the beautiful young bride. And then forever he's going to tell his tales that I was the one in that story. And they go, oh yeah, like hell, you know. So that was the basic idea of the song. I'm not quite sure how much this song follows that original narrative, but that was the basic idea. An urban myth, whatever a maritime myth is, comes true for one sailor. Tall Ship Story. And so you find me drinking in the harbour. If you have an hour till you set sail, join an old sea dog, sit here in the corner. Gather round now while I tell my tale. We were homeward bound from the far East Indies, and filling up the hold in old Shanghai, when a horse and a carriage, they came near us. An old man and a young woman drew alongside. There are stories told about the wind and the rock, haunted ships that never made dock, 1,000 tales of the deep and the stormy brine, and this one's mine. She was the sweetest sight, the fairest beauty. I wiped my brow, I leapt ashore. He called me close and softly whispered, young man, for just one night she's yours. My shipmates stretched their eyes in wonder as I climbed in the carriage and we rode away. We passed past that night in sweetest rapture, and I didn't return till the break of day. There are stories told of the wind and rock, haunted ships that never made dock, 1,000 tales of the deep and the stormy brine, and this one's mine. Believe me. Hey! We stood by the sea as the dawn was breaking. There was sadness in the old man's grey eyes. He took my arm and said, "Now leave us and go tell the world about old Shanghai." On every ship a loudmouth sailor says it happened to him what happened to you, but for one young man in all these oceans, well, I would have made the fiction true, but you'll be known as a liar by all your crew. Stories told of the wind and rock, of haunted ships that never made dock, 1,000 tales of the deep and the stormy brine, and this one's mine. This one's mine. Believe me. Hey. Oh, I haven't played that for years. Tall Ship Story. Now here's something I do on the Cuatro, and I'm just going to turn on this little echo down here. A bit faster. Using a dedicated echo. Can you hear the echo go 1, 2, 3? So the echo is threes against one, so it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'm playing in 4/4, but the echo is threes. 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm doing that frailing banjo technique I spoke about earlier. So this is a version, a reworking of Reynardine, you know, the classic tale of the man, the predator who takes the form of a fox, you know. And I suppose these stories were ways of warning young people not to stray out of the confines of the village, because who knows was living out in the woods, what sort of people were out there beyond the law. And it does say in the song that he's wanted by the law, sought by the judge's men. And there's a seduction scene, and it's a bit like one of those Company of Wolves, Angela, always forget her name. Those looking beneath the folk story as to what the subtext is. Angela Carter, you know, Red Riding Hood. You know, the victims in all these songs are always girls, I suppose, at 16, 17 years old, wandering through the woods. You know, like a Hammer horror film. And the guy, he takes the form of a fox, very charismatic. So I suppose it's just a subtext for someone who is a predator. And so this is Reynardine. This is my tune to an old, I think, Anglo-Irish folk song. One evening as I rambled among the springing thyme, I overheard a young woman converse with Reynardine. Her hair was black, her eyes were blue, her lips were ruby wine, and he smiled as he looked upon them. Did that sly bold Reynardine? She said, young man, be civil, my company forsake, for to my own opinion I fear you are some rake. Oh no, I am no rake, he cries, I was raised in the wind and rain, but I'm searching for concealment, or from the judge's man. Her rosy cheeks, her ruby lips, they lost their former dye, and she fell into his arms, all on that mountainside. They had not kissed but once or twice, when she came to again, and so modestly she asked him, pray tell to me your name. He said, if by chance you look for me, by chance you'll not me find, for I'll be in my green castle, inquire for Reynardine. Day and night she followed him, his teeth so white did shine, and he led her into the mountains, did that sly bold Reynardine. Deep into the mountains with Reynardine. Reynardine. Amazing story. Excuse me while I have a wet the whistle. I've used this a little tune I played with Cormac. I started off with a jig on the tenor guitar. I think I played it on the tenor guitar show, and I went into a little tune, and he accompanied it on the baron. Except he would really keep pushing the speed. Nearly. This bit was a bit easier. keyed repeat. Remember this bit? Hey! Usually people were clapping by now. Really. Lost it there. That was always an ordeal every night. I needed to have warmed up a bit more on that one, but you get the picture. So what else have I played on the Cuatro? Oh, I know, with Tom and Martin. It's never too late. Beating my radio, trucking on through the night. 3579 double wide line. Motorway sun coming up on the morning light. Everyone knows that the motor ain't leading nowhere. Gonna keep on driving on the road I'm on. And it's two, come on, there's never too late. Motorway sun coming up on the morning light. 3579 double wide line. Motorway sun coming up on the morning light. The same old motorway sun coming up on the morning light. The same old motorway sun coming up on the morning light. I used to love playing that with Tom and with Martin. Sorry, Tom, I didn't get all the words correct on that one, but you get the general feel of the Cuatro. So what else have I used it for lately? Oh yeah, a moodier version of Country Life. Now, what happens live now is Naomi sets the echo. Now, I think the amplifier I'm using here doesn't have... It's either too fast or too slow. So I'd have to play it. Or if I slow it down. I think I will. I think I'll finish up with a slow version of Country Life. Thank you for excuse me. Thank you for tuning in to Strand with Steve, Lick the Lockdown. This might be the 7th or 8th concert I've done. And keep tuning in, and lots of stuff to come in the week. So yeah, I will play this slightly slower, because I think it's the mood we're all in, isn't it? So. Working in the rain, cutting up wood, didn't do my little brother much good. He lost 2 fingers in a chainsaw bite, and all he does now is drink and fight. He sells a bit of grass and he huts up cars, talks of travel, never gets far. Loves his kids but left his wife, an everyday story of country life. Country life. And the red brick cottage where I was born is the empty shell of a holiday home. Most of the year there's no one there, the village is dead and they don't care. And now we live on the edge of town, we haven't been back since our pub closed down. One man's family pays the price for another man's vision of country life. But if you want cheap food, then here's the deal. It's family farms that are brought to heel by a hammer blow of size and scale. Was foot and mouth just the final nail in the coffin of this English dream? It lies out there on the village green, where agri-barons, cap in hand, strip our green and our pleasant land of meadow, woodland and hedgerow pond, and what remains they build upon. Silent lanes, empty hills, distant smoke from distant flames. Picture postcard, the hills on fire and cattle burn in funeral pyres. Out to graves, they look so sweet. We hate the blood, but we want the meat. So buy me a beer, I'll take my knife and cut you a slice of country life. Now I always mention the pubs we used to play in. Different context now, isn't it really? Because it's not just the ones that are closed now, but the ones that have closed down over the last 20 or 30 years that I've been doing this, you know. The Tiger's Head, and the Star, and the Bird in Hand, and the 8 Bells, and the Red Lion, and the King and Queen. They're all long gone. They've been gone for a while, and now so many others are dark. Let's hope they reopen soon. Country life, I'm singing, oh. Working in the rain, cutting up wood. Well, it didn't do my little brother much good. Stay safe, everyone. Tune in next time.